We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are conducting life-changing research that solves the problems of today. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Welcome to the POMcast with Stephen Willis. Now we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics for the fan, by the fan, and of the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah, right now. The POMcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the POMcast. I appreciate everybody being patient with me as I am recovering from being a little bit under the weather. It started over the weekend. It's continued on. And I think I'm on the last day of it. So just be patient a little bit longer and we'll get through this. Absolutely. Welcome to the POMcast on this Tuesday morning. I have a cough drop in my mouth if you can hear it. Hopefully that'll be what was going on. Not, anything weird with audio. It's actually a cough drop in there. But before we get started today, today's show, we're going to have a look at the soccer Sweet 16 and the press conference highlights from their media availability yesterday. And we'll talk about the players of the week in baseball. And then whenever we come back from the break, we're going to break into the momentum for playoff expansion and what that exactly means and what would be the best scenario for Ole Miss. So we'll talk about that a little bit. But before we get started, I want to tell you about the Vault Society. That is the Ole Miss Athletics Foundation's big push right now is the Vault Society. It's a 5-year commitment of support. Membership starts at $5,000 a year, and there's a benefit chart on the site. We're going to give you that site in just a second. But first, all gifts between now and June 30th will include triple points. Red points are non-deductible and go towards priority seatings. Blue points are 90% tax deductible and go towards parking and non-home ticketed games. That'd be postseason, bowl games, and neutral site. Neutral site like a certain Louisville game on Labor Day. But if you're interested in that, go to give2athletics.com. Again, that is going to give2athletics.com. Now, if you're interested in the show, which if you are watching, you probably are, you can catch us on Twitter at The Stephen Willis or at The Rebel Walk. You can catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast or the Rebel Walks Facebook page. You can hit us up on YouTube at Positively Ole Miss. Subscribe, hit the bell. You'll not only know that we're streaming, you'll know what we're streaming about. And catch us on Twitch at Positively Ole Miss, all one word. We also have a couple of catch-alls at Willis Digital Media for YouTube and Twitch, to where you can catch our Ole Miss videos and our other videos as well. We haven't really started doing other videos. There's not really any need to go there, but we're going to do that eventually. For audio, you can catch us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. We're also on smaller podcatchers, so tune in with that. Yeah, like I said, it's a little bit of scratchy throatness. But I don't want to hack on the air, so that's the reason for the water. I apologize for that. But the big story right now when it comes to Ole Miss athletics, everybody wants to talk about the sweep or Jacob Gonzalez getting freshman of the week or Gunnar Hoagland getting pitcher of the week. But the story actually is the Ole Miss soccer team in the Sweet 16 against Duke. They will play the Blue Devils Wednesday at 11 Central in Cary, North Carolina. That is the home of North Carolina Football Club, formerly the Carolina Railhawks. It's actually a nice facility. The women's national team have been playing games at Cary for quite some time. So it doesn't sound like much, but it's just a suburb of the Raleigh area. But it's fairly nice, and it's a soccer stadium with an upper deck. Now people are going to look at it and say, well, there's Texas high school football stadiums that are bigger than that. Yeah, but this is for a women's soccer competition. And I think the Carolina Courage also play there, and I think they've won the NWSL Challenge Cup. I think it is a year or two ago. They won it recently, but that's an NWSL thing. So not only is this a platform to get to the Elite Eight, this is a platform for those girls to get noticed, because there's actually pro scouts there, and you're in the home of a solid organization within the NWSL. But before we get too far into this, we'll play the press conference highlights here, and we'll come back and we'll talk a little baseball.
We are here in Raleigh, North Carolina, or Cary, North Carolina, I guess, staying at the Hilton. We were down in Wilmington, obviously, for the first two games against Bowling Green and USC, and now we take on Duke on Wednesday at noon, 11 o'clock Central Time. So I'm excited about the match. Our team's playing at a really high level, really excited about how we performed in really both games, both much different games. Bowling Green was a very tough physical team that really kind of knocked us around for lots part of the game. There was a really stiff wind going straight down the field, which made it hard for us to play, and we really kicked the ball off the field a bunch, which is not characteristic of us. But got into penalties, and it's just how crazy, how close soccer is. We were down to, we had missed a penalty, and if they score, they win and they move on. And Ashley Orcus came up with a fantastic save to move us on, and then we went into sudden death, and Mo O'Connor and Lucy Green both made their penalties, and Ashley, or I think they missed their last one, and we're able to move on to play USC. And in that game, Ash made 3 unbelievable saves on penalties against Bowling Green to push us forward. Play USC, we come out in the first half. We're not playing bad, but they have 2 of the best forwards in the country on their team. Scored 2 goals. We're going to halftime 2-0. I said to the team, it's a 90-minute game. We got to keep playing, and we're going to be dangerous. And we kind of continued to kind of put balls on top of them, and we were able to get one off a long throw that Haley Stackpole finished, and then we got another one off a corner that Ramsey Davis finished, and then we go into penalties again. Got into overtime again. Ashley made a couple unbelievable saves in overtime, and saved a penalty in overtime, which, again, when that happened, I think most people would think we were going to lose, but not when you have that kind of goalkeeper. And then we went into penalties. Channing Foster went first for us, buried hers. And then we actually saved their first 2, I think it was. And then we missed a couple. Then we scored a couple. And then, it came down to Mo O'Connor again, scores hers. Ashley, if she saves it, we win. Tara McKeon, who is Pac-12, all Pac-12 forward, great player, and Ashley snuffs her out again, and we win. So just a great performance for our group. Really exciting games, nerve-wracking on the sideline, but certainly exciting.
The penalty kicks are kind of tough because the team has done most of the work leading up to that, and that's kind of when I had my most action against USC and then Bowling Green. So for me, leading up to it, I just try and stay as calm as possible, because as soon as you let your heart rate get up, you're kind of done for. So it's just a mental kind of game of staying calm and staying confident and doing your absolute best to read as much body language as possible. And most of it also is just kind of luck.
Yeah, I think just coming into the season, it just being such a different year already with only 48 teams to make it to the tournament was just a huge accomplishment for sure. But, we wanted to come in and take it a game at a time, but we weren't done yet after one, and we wanted to keep going. We wanted to go as far as possible, as far as any Ole Miss team has ever gone, and we have the opportunity to do that. And so I think that's where all of our focus lies now is just coming out this next game strong so that we can make history for Ole Miss and, like you said, put our name on the map.
Yeah, we came into the, at the end of the fall, we were actually playing really well. We had beaten Georgia at home 4-3. We went and played Vanderbilt, beat Vanderbilt away, playing really well. Then we kind of played poorly in the SEC tournament, got knocked out in the first round when I thought we were playing at a really high level. Just one of those games we lost late in overtime to an LSU team that was kind of flying at the time. But we came in the spring really revigorated, David, and we told the players, like, listen, we'll have a chance to get in the tournament, but we got to be perfect. We got to win every game, and we've got to play at a different level. We changed the way we played a little bit, changed our system, and that is what really propelled us. I think that the turning point was once we beat Memphis at home on that night where we beat them 3-1. It was a cold, rainy, the field was soaked, water splashing up everywhere, and we really kind of dominated the game. And I think our whole team, certainly in our coaching staff, really believed that was the turning point where we said, okay, they were nationally ranked. We can play with these guys. If we can play with these guys, we can play with anybody. And so from that point forward, we just really cruised in the spring. And to this point, we're playing at a really good level. Our players understand how we want to play and the way we want to play, and that's helped us tremendously.
One second. All right. Turn the sound off. All right, turn the sound off. The game, Ole Miss versus Duke. 9-seeded Duke will be Wednesday at 11 Central Time. That'd be 12 Eastern Time. If you are interested in that. So big chance for the Rebels to hit the Elite Eight with a win. Duke is actually a higher seeded team than Southern Cal. So according to seeding, they beat Southern Cal, which is supposed to be better than Duke. But if Ole Miss comes out and play pretty well, they've got a pretty hot goalkeeper. They have a chance to really stall the game out and advance forward. So it's always good to be hot going into a tournament setting. So let's see. And other news, let's see.
The 0-2 from McCasey. 3-pitch strikeout. Back-to-back punch-outs to start the. Run. 1-2 pitch. Chased one up and out of the zone.
You want to answer that, don't you? I bet it's just killing you seeing the soft glow just inches away. Someone wants to tell you something or ask you something. Oh, come on, answer it already! Just so we're clear, that wasn't my fault. Next time, ignore your inner voice. Don't text and drive. A message from Florida's trusted choice independent insurance agents.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis. I just want you to stick around a little longer. We're going to get back to the podcast right after these messages.
Tonight, nearly 40,000 veterans across the country are homeless. These men and women have pledged to serve our nation, and now we must serve them. Landlords across the country have helped make significant progress in reducing veteran homelessness by making housing available, but there is more that we can do to bring our veterans home. Visit www.va.gov/homeless to see how you can get involved. And if you are a veteran and you are experiencing homelessness, please call 877-4AID-VET. Thank you.
Welcome back to the POMcast. Right here, you can see, let's see, go point over there to therebelwalk.com. Evelyn and her staff do a fantastic job. They're worth checking out. They provide a subscriber level experience, and it doesn't cost you any money. The only thing it costs you is a little bit of time. As we know, time is the most valuable asset we have, so it's not taken lightly, but they provide a good product for you to kill a couple of moments if you are looking to do that. That is therebelwalk.com. That is therebelwalk.com. Just a second. So, there's been stories coming out over the last week about momentum gaining for expanding the playoffs. After the last year, we all knew the playoff was going to expand. It's just, what was it going to expand to, and what does that exactly mean? That is the real question we're dealing with here. But I think the rumor out there right now is to expand to go to 12, from 4 to 12, which that'd be adding 8 teams to the playoff, and you could basically take all the conference winners, then fill it in with a couple at-larges if you wanted to. You could also just do that magic 12 number that they're so proud of, and they used to do with the BCS and everything else for the group of 5. If you get inside that 12 spot, you get into the dance. 12 would be a good number for Ole Miss. I like that. I would prefer 16, honestly. And I think that, you play the first game on campus at the higher seed. It's an additional home game that you can get on top of what's coming in for the playoff. Then in the round of 8, that's 4 games, and then 2 games for the semifinals. And they already have those games earmarked for the you got the playoff games, and then you have the extra bowl games that rotate in and out. So they could do that every year. It could all be on the bowl game that you go to, and it looks like it could be a really cool thing. But I really like the idea of 16, just because, let's be honest about where Ole Miss is. Ole Miss is in the best conference in the country. Ole Miss generally doesn't flirt very often with the top 12, top 10-ish. But getting in the middle of the top 20, they do that from time to time. And that'll provide an avenue for them to get in there and play their way for a national title. Now, Ole Miss is never going to be a team that goes 12-0, I don't think. Something could happen and everything can change. The dynamic of football would have to change greatly for Ole Miss to get into that position, but I digress. But right now, what we have, and this is an unintended consequence thing, and if people talk about not wanting to bring in the playoff for this very reason, they're lying to you. But it was a completely unintended consequence that nobody could even fathom that this would have came up. But there's only 5 teams or so that make the playoffs every year. I mean, it's so predictable in the playoffs at the end. That's the reason they're talking about expansion and everything else. It's just because interest is starting to wane because the same 5 teams are vying for the 4 spots. But they also use those 5 teams to recruit to the playoff. They're only teams that can recruit to the playoff, which gives them a major talent advantage when it comes to recruiting. It's not that they're buying kids; they can offer something that's absolutely relevant to them. You can come to Alabama. This is the recruiting pitch. We have the most draft picks in the last 20 years. You can play in the playoff every year. All these check marks that other teams can't hit. I mean, that's 2 bullet points right there that other teams aren't going to be able to compete with, and that's fine. But what will happen if you move this to 16 is you're probably looking at 30, 35 teams all of a sudden that are competing from the playoffs instead of 5. That's going to thin out that recruiting base. That, with the 1-year transfer rule, you have a chance to change the dynamic of college football and how you recruit and how you build a roster. And for once, there is basically a chance that Blue Bloods are going to be the big loser in the expansion change. I'm kind of looking forward to that, but the 1-year transfer, you can either recruit 25 kids at a high level the way you have been doing, or you can recruit less of those and go in and hunt for the best transfers, all while keeping your whole roster happy. So it's going to be hard for the Blue Bloods to stockpile talent and just basically be a farm for those guys, because you go there 1 year, they're not happy, you're gone. There's nothing you can really do. So this is going to be good for the mid-tier teams like Ole Miss. An expansion of the playoffs would be a good thing for a team like Ole Miss. The one-time transfer and recruiting situation is good for a team like Ole Miss. So this is a very pro-Ole Miss time in college football. Some people are going to talk about Notre Dame getting beat by 30 points or whatever as a reason we shouldn't expand the playoffs, but we absolutely should expand the playoffs because that's a silly argument. You have people that want things to stay the way they are just because they don't want things to change. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's what they know. It's what they understand. But in a situation where Ole Miss is basically locked out of what's going on in college football, changing the dynamics of the sport seems like a great way forward for Ole Miss football. So I'm very excited about that. I'm going to give you a couple minutes back today. Hopefully tomorrow, I think I'm going to be fully recovered tomorrow, and we can have it back to having a normal show. But thank you very much for putting up with me over the last couple of days. Yesterday we did over 1,000 views, so thank you very much for that. Good stuff. It wasn't the best of shows. I'm sorry about being under the weather, but I'm doing the best I can. And just thank you very much. Like I said, it's extremely humbling to be in that position. So thank you very much. And we're going to keep working and trying to obliterate that number each and every single day. And we're going to concentrate on on all the sports at Ole Miss. We're not going to focus too much. Although, like we said at the beginning, 80% of the fan base cares only about football. So football is going to be the year-round sport, but everything else we're going to talk about in season. But thank you very much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time. Hopefully, we'll be sounding a little bit better, and I won't have a need for a cough drop and water. But we can get that done. So thank you, and we will see you tomorrow. Hotty toddy.